You know what I find so interesting, and it's something that a lot of you light workers will begin to awaken to within your reality field in the beginning, in the middle, in the ending of your never-ending awakening journey, is that you are you and I am me, but in the intrinsicness of it all, you will come into a realization that we are one. We are one so through and through, in a sense that you've never been able to feel into. And it's one thing to say it, it's one thing to be it, it's one thing to coerce it, it's one thing to suspect it to be true, but it's another thing to tap into it, to feel into it, to live it, to distort it into a reality field of molding energetically, consciously, on all levels of encompassment that you can ever encompass, to be real and to be true as you begin to awaken to this great and grand scheme that we've crafted for ourselves on an energetic level, to be able to drop down into this field so far from where we've come from, so intrinsically whole yet disconnected from the source consciousness in which we all fractaled off from, yet so intrinsically connected in ways that you will never be able to perceive to be true in a moment in time of your awakening, where you're just expanding your energetic frequency into the ethers to come into the realization of all that you are not. And the interesting aspect of it, which I'm about to tell you, and mark my words, is that initially you will fall prey to the false light within, but every ounce of your being will recognize it as being a true self of what is. And as it's inevitable for you to be able to tap into every single layer of energetic frequency within our field, and as the consciousness that encompasses our reality field is crafted out of the blueprint of 50% brightness within the self and 50% darkness also within the self, you will traverse through these energies like no other. You will quantify your existence into these layers of existences that you've never known to be true. And initially, you will fall prey to the false light, to the darkness that parades itself as a true source frequency, as a true light. And I shouldn't say source frequency, because all is source. Regardless of false light or the brightest organic light, source is all that there is. Consciousness is all that you've been. Consciousness is constantly oscillating in and out of positive and negative polarities. And to reject an aspect of the self within the darkness, within the false light of the self, is distinctively true within our collective energetic frequencies as we traverse through this lifespan. Yet it's not the correct way to encompass things, to perceive things, to go through things by any means. And it is the perception that has gotten us into much incoherence, into much, so to say, trouble when it comes to the deception of it all, the deceiving within the self, to come to an understanding that the darkness is outside of the self, is the greatest deception of Lucifer that he could have ever brainwashed into our society, to push down our problems, to push up our egos, to anchor onto the physicality outside of ourselves, to not recognize the darkness as being a part of the intrinsicness of who and what we are, and to reach for the brightness as if we're done with the darkness, as if the darkness was never who and what we are, as if the darkness is something that we can throw in the trash can, as we come to the realization of how disgusting, how much of an epic failure that it has ever brought us to our knees, to come to a realization of that the brightness of pure light consciousness is what we strive to become. And the perception of just that is so wrong, is so distorted, is so all in all encompassing of the frequency of the false light in all that it's ever been, as being scared of the darkness, being scared of an aspect of the self that has always been so intrinsically connected to the whole of what is what got us to this place in the first place. And to awaken to all of that and to be able to traverse the false light, the true self, the false self, the whole self, the entirety of the all of all, is what humanity is contracted to go through on a fractal level, on a physicality level, on all levels of levels within the sphere of our existence upon Gaia's surface and within her core. We're about and in the midst of going through an epic journey of epic proportionary feats within all of consciousness. Whether you are intrinsically a part of the dark light of what is, the true light of what is will shine through for us all to decide, to decipher, to be real, to want to project, as this exploration of the darkness has gone on for far too long, but to reject those parts of a reality field that has made us and crafted us into who and what we are, that has allowed us to bring home the greatest lessons that you could ever envision to be true within the entirety of all of consciousness itself. Is bad, is evil, is not to say the word evil meaning what it truly means, but it is what the darkness wants you to feel, is how the darkness wants you to shift through this reality field to come to a non-understanding, a non-encompassment, a separation state of the darkness not being a part of who and what we intrinsically are. And to have this thought pattern, to have this thought process is what keeps us so stuck in these cycles of reincarnation without coming to an understanding of the reality field in which we are, of the darkness that so intrinsically is encompassed within each and every one of our blueprints, that we cannot reject, we cannot dissipate, that we cannot release of, let go of. We can't push it down a chimney as if it wouldn't get clogged. We can't release of the energetic pull of the darkness without coming to a realization that it is who we are intrinsically on a 50% level of the blueprint in which a source consciousness has crafted our reality field out of. And to come into the realization of that is the grandest realization that you could ever come across, is the biggest truth that this reality field has been hiding from a collective of spiritual gurus, from a select few of the elites who have been allowed to broadcast these spiritual messages of hope, of love, of faith, of what it means to traverse the darkness, of how it is to be pure brightness within and without. And to tell you the truth, to have that type of impact on a coherent large portion of a societal field, you would have to encompass some type of dark light to broadcast the agenda of the elites, of the darkness within and without. And as a new era is approaching us of the great awakening, you will see a select few stand up in essence of the true light, of the neutrality of what is, and broadcast their light, their truth, their God's message of coherence, of non-understanding, of the encompassment, of how and why we should encompass the darkness and walk ourselves down this path of darkness that we've crafted for ourselves, to bring home these lessons within the brightness that we've always been, yet intrinsically rejecting the darkness as we reach and strive for the brightness is something that was never meant to be, is something that will never work out in our favor, is something that shall never be able to coexist in our reality field within the 50% brightness and 50% darkness of our field. We are intrinsically whole the way we are, the way we've always been, and as we compartmentalize the darkness within, we will say our final farewells, for farewell is never a farewell. And as we've come across the brightest light in the quantumverse that we've decided to shift towards and into, we will hold on to that darkness until our next epic proportion of a reality field that we decide to fractal off into, to explore that darkness of the self once more, as the darkness will always be so intrinsically wholly connected to that blueprint of a source consciousness that is us through and through, as no consciousness in itself can be rejected away from this whole, as the entirety of our reality field has always been one, has always been all, has always been the one.